The Falcon and the Winter Soldier has arrived on Disney+.
The world is upside down. We can't lose this fight, Bucky. If we do this, we're gonna do it our own way.
Experience the 6-episode event.
Work partners, co-workers, not necessarily the team. No. We look damn good.
Marvel Studios' The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, now streaming only on Disney+.
Spring into Lowe's and plant the seeds of possibility. With premium mulch for just $3.68 a bag and Stay Green 1 cubic foot garden soil just $4.28 a bag, you'll grow possibilities right from the ground, like skipping the grocery store because your yard grew the whole salad. And it grew you tulips, too. Oh, yard, you shouldn't have. Visit your local Lowe's or shop online at Lowe's.com. Lowe's, home to any budget, home to any possibility. While supplies last, mulch offer in-store only. Selection and offer availability varies by location. Offers valid through 3/10, U.S. only. Excludes Hawaii.
The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Hoop Ball DFS Today podcast. I am your host, Mike Apotria, joined by my good buddy, Bretton Eckersley. We're here to break down this wonderful March 22nd. It's a Monday. We got 8 games on the card. It's gonna be an interesting one as we record this the night before, recording it right around 10 p.m. And you get the news that rolls right in. So before we get into this wonderful, I mean, I'm not going to say wonderful. It's actually dreadful news if you're an NBA fan. Nothing nobody wants to hear. Before we get to the bad stuff. Bretton, how are we doing over there, brother? Hope you're having a good weekend.
I had an awesome weekend here, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I had a great weekend too. And then we get some like terrible news. I feel like, I went to the casino, and that was fun. I haven't been there in a while, and I had a great time. Got dinner with the girlfriend, got to do a little bit of playing, some shopping, all that good stuff. But like when I was, out in that town, literally people are just falling off. LeBron got hurt, LaMelo. We're looking at this now, so could have been better. It's ending on a sour note right now, man. I wish it was better.
Oh, that's a bad end to a good weekend, man. My weekend was good. I had the little guy here for the weekend, and AFL fantasy started over here in Australia this weekend as well. So my fantasy plate is brimming. It's falling off the sides. I am under the pump with fantasy, but still tuned in here to break down this card with you. Just on a little side note, little personal note, for anyone out there doing EPL fantasy or FPL as it's known, I'm currently ranked at 26,000, and anyone who knows FPL, 8 million players. So I am way up there and steaming home. So we'll see what happens there. As I said, my fantasy plate my brain is exploding, and we'll still be able to break this down though, Mike.
Exploding in a good way. That's what it is.
Exploding in a good way.
Bursting with knowledge is what it is. And you're just a multifaceted, multi-sport. You're what we would call over here in the States just a modern day Bo Jackson, just handling multi-sports like that. So
sometimes I wish I wasn't, I swear. But when good things are happening like that FPL ranking, man, I will take it and keep steaming forwards.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you on this show, man. I love doing our shows together. It's only once a week. Really look forward to them. But before we jump into it, before we start breaking down this 8-game card, just a quick shout out to our presenting sponsor. So I just mentioned I was at the casino, but truth of the matter, I didn't even need to leave my home to go if I didn't want to. I went for the dinner, but you can play any casino game, fully fledged table games, slots, you name it, right on MyBookie. So head over to mybookie.ag, guys. Fully fledged casino platform for you to play at. Also, the only and number one sportsbook I trust. I give them my stamp of approval. Listen, guys, if you head over to MyBookie, sign up on that initial deposit. Use that promo code HOOPBALL, HOOPBALL. They will give you a 50% deposit match on up to $1,000. So you put in $100, they'll give you $50 free. Put in $1,000, they'll give you $500 for free. It's free money to play with on your initial deposit, guys. Sign up. Use that promo code HOOPBALL. So we're going to jump right into this, man. We got a nice little tasty slate on our hands. A couple of games that are a little bit more enticing. We do not have all the lines out here, so bear with us. We'll go with what we do have to start. first game on the night, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time game. We have the Sacramento Kings traveling to Cleveland, take on the Cavs here. 225.5 game total. Sacramento is favored by 4 coming into this one. For Cleveland, no injury report. They're on the, I believe they're on the second half of a back-to-back. And for the Kings, Marvin Bagley has been ruled out. Obviously dealing with a hand fracture. Probably won't see him for the better half of a month. So, Brad, I'll pass it over to you. Let's talk about this Kings team.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting to note, this is a fairly different kind of card that we have in front of us tonight. We are usually blessed with a massive amount of studs, guys above 10K and around that 11K price. Yeah, maybe blessed is the wrong term. It can be quite difficult when there's all those guys in there. You get 8 or 9 to choose from. Tonight we have one player above 10K, which is a really interesting way to attack a slate. And that just brings me straight into Darren Fox. So Darren Fox is one of these next tier guys, if you want to look at it in that expensive tier at 9,100. And as we go through this card, you'll hear from both Mike and I. There's a stack of these guys around this pricing, and it means that we have to make decisions at a bit of a lower price bracket. Darren Fox versus the Cleveland Cavs, not really scared of the Cavs backcourt defense. It's not going to be the greatest game total for the Kings, though. The Cavs do play a fairly slow kind of game. And 9,100, it's just one of those prices here where we may get to better value further on. So I may just leave Darren Fox out. But the other guy who's been on fire lately is Buddy Hield. But I just can't play this guy even at 6,600. I'll just leave him to other people. He still does have those down games every now and then. I will be looking at a little bit of Rashawn Holmes here at 7,200. We know that Marvin Bagley's out. We know that Harrison Barnes has kind of slid to the fore. Maybe some people expected Nemanja Bjelica to kind of pick up the slack there and play some 4 minutes, but it's really just been Holmes getting more production and more usage at 7,200. I think he's a pretty good price tag against a Cavs front court, who are still giving up a stack of fantasy points. And Holmes' last few outings, he's had some 50-point fantasy returns in there. So I don't mind having a look at Holmes. Honestly, Halliburton, 5,500, that's a nice price tag for a starting guard, but he's just been fairly underwhelming. He's maybe a GPP guy. And honestly, man, outside of Rashawn Holmes, it's kind of stabs at Halliburton and maybe some, long throw darts at Hassan Whiteside, who's now playing minutes again. But it's really just Rashawn Holmes for me.
I don't have a lot of interest in the Kings whatsoever. I think Halliburton is the one guy that I do have interest in. I know you said he's been slightly underwhelming, but he also has been on a minutes restriction, which is, I think it's about due to be lifted. They said about 2 more games 2 games ago. So we'll have to wait and see on the news in that one. We're talking like the last game, only played 27 minutes. It was a blowout. It was also a back-to-back, and he played both ends of the back-to-back. The front half, he played 34. So if you're telling me I'm getting, anywhere 34-plus minutes on Halliburton at 5,500, regardless of the matchup, I love that. And you mentioned it. You're not too scared off of this Cleveland backcourt yourself either. So Halliburton is the one guy that I have some interest in. I wouldn't blame you for playing Holmes. The guy's just been on an absolute tear. And it just literally making a case for why he thinks he is one of the best two-way centers in the league. So don't fault you there. Just a couple other options I think I'm going to go to. Same thing with Fox. 9,100 is expensive for me, but wouldn't fault you. On the other side of the ball, looking at this Cleveland team, Larry Nance Jr. Starting to get up there in price. He's been a guy that I just been kind of slotting in there, cash, GPPs. He's a little bit comfortable for both. You can still play him at GPPs. He has that upside baked in there. It's a pretty fair matchup. But at 6,100, he's starting to, kind of drift out of that cash territory where we can just say, lock him in. And honestly, I'm probably not going to too many guys over here on the Cavs, which is a little underwhelming for me, knowing that Sacramento plays little to no defense whatsoever. So I want to have more interest, but with this slate we have available, 8 games, I just don't see myself realistically going to too many options here. I think Colin Sexton's at a fair price. He's probably the premium option if you wanted to play one of these guys.
Not even a shooting guard versus the Kings, Mike. What is happening?
No, it's that's the thing. It's with these de facto backcourt. They're both kind of tweeners. Garland, Sexton. Neither one of them is really a point guard. Neither one of them is really a shooting guard. So it's kind of tough if you want to go there. And then you're paying that premium for Garland. So 6,600 for Darius Garland. It's a little bit too rich for my blood. I know back-to-back 40-point games, but I almost feel like we're chasing that. I would prefer to go with Sexton, where we generally know that the volume's going to be there. 18 to 20-plus shot attempts on almost a nightly basis.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. It's tough to play either of those guys. I mean, Sexton was the clear-cut choice between the two guards for most of the season, but it's that double 40-point return that Garland's given us now. It's interesting, 6,600. As you said, we got 8 games. We do have a lot of guys to look at. He might be just the better play out of those two, and that's about it at the salary saving. Like, I'm not sure I'm playing either of them. Larry Nance, Kevin Love is out, 6,100. Kings defense. It's all of this is just based on Kings defense. I mean, none of it is really exciting. And the same can be said about Jarrett Allen at 7,600. That seems too high for him at the moment, but Kings defense. I mean, Rashawn Holmes is no slouch, but Jarrett Allen has finally given us a decent return in the last one versus the Spurs. And the Spurs are kind of playing that similar smallish lineup around Pirtle, where the Kings are kind of playing that smallish lineup around Holmes. So it's an interesting one. None of them are jumping off the page at me, though. I will probably just do the same as you and move past this game for the most part.
Boom. We'll continue. Next game, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. Oklahoma City Thunder traveling to Minnesota. Take on the Timberwolves. OKC is on the second half of a back-to-back. We know that they had a few guys resting in the front half. Al Horford sat out. I believe Shai Gilgeous-Alexander sat out as well. Believe he was dealing with right shoulder soreness, so it wasn't the same thing as rest. Baisley has been out for quite some time. We do not have an injury report because it is the second half of a back-to-back. We'll have to wait on that, but I am going to assume that Baisley remains out. Horford is playing, and we'll have to monitor Shai. That's the key news that we're really waiting to see on. For the Timberwolves, Malik Beasley, Jordan McLaughlin, D'Angelo Russell, all ruled out. Jarrett Culver is questionable. There is no game total, but we do have a line, which is, I always find it funny when they do this. Minnesota being favored by 2 points in this one as of right now. We'll start the Thunder team. Brandon, I'll jump into it right off the rip. With some of these guys coming back, it always gets jumbled up. Horford coming back, pushes Moses Brown back to the bench, kind of takes him out of play at 5,100. We have to see what they do with this wing rotation. If Shai plays for me at 8,300, I'm locking that in. Absolute fantastic matchup, high-paced game, little to no defense. The price tag's starting to drift down to where I like to see right around that AK mark. He's one of the reasons why I wouldn't be able to play guys like Fox and some of these other. I think we'll get to some of these other guys. I believe 8,600 range, Zach LaVine's, those types of guys. I just prefer Shai over him in this matchup. So he's going to be my top option on this one. Trusting Al Horford when he is playing in these, it's tough. They're really limiting his minutes, and frankly, you can't blame him. There's really no incentive for Al Horford to play hard or for them to play him. They're going to play him a little bit, but whether he gets traded this year in the offseason, whatever it may be, he's a placeholder. He knows that. His job is just to kind of motivate and teach these young guys in practice. But that's going to be my main option. I'm really going to be looking to spend up on Shai. Without any of this other news and whether or not Shai plays, it's kind of tough to know. If he sits, we could probably expect Maladon to draw the start again, at which at 5K, I'd have some interest in him. And then Dort would just see a ton of usage like we saw today. Had 20-plus shot attempts. I believe he shot over 50% from the floor. So 5,200 would put Dort in play if Shai is out.
Yeah, it's there's a lot going on with the Thunder team, and without an injury report, it certainly makes it pretty tough, man. I am worried about Horford. Do they play him at all here? He should come back and play, but it's really based on the news on SGA and Al Horford and what we do with this team. As you said, SGA at 8,300 versus the Timberwolves. That's a great price, and you can play him all day if he's in. And then the other bit pieces for the Thunder, it really all comes down to whether Horford plays or not. I mean, if Horford is out, we know that we can play Moses Brown at 5,100. Isaiah Roby would be maybe a little less enticing at 5,600. And then if SGA is out, we have a look at some usage going to Alexei Pokuchevsky. That's the first time I've attempted that one. Got there in the end. Alexei Pokuchevsky, Pokemon, 4,900. That play is also just a bit of a potential GPP upside play, but only if SGA sits. It's a tough one until we get more news, so keep an eye on that.
Yeah, once SGA news comes out, I mean, that's just going to dictate what we're doing with this team, just because of that trickle-down effect with his his usage more so than the minutes. We kind of know where the minutes would go. But that usage we're a little bit more enticed with. Sliding over to the Minnesota side of things, obviously this is going to be one of the premier matchups. I think one of the highly targeted games on the night. No Malik Beasley, no D'Angelo Russell. I think you could just continue pounding the pavement on guys like Cat and Anthony Edwards. The usage that these two guys are having. Anthony Edwards now knowing that he has got a decent shot at getting this Rookie of the Year. Him and Halliburton can pretty much be going head to head. Now that LaMelo's hurt. And, even though LaMelo is going to miss half the season, still has a very good chance to win it himself. With how well he played, he really separated himself from the pack. But I have interest in both these guys. If I'm playing Shea, I'm going to try to run it back with one of these guys. We have a ton of value that we will get to later, so I don't try to sound like I'm just naming the most expensive guys where we go team by team. But that's what I'm playing right here. It's going to be Cat. It's going to be Edwards. I'll probably draw the line just because that's where the usage is, and that's what I want.
Perfect, man. I think we can move on. I'm in total agreement with both those guys and not a lot else.
Boom. Next game, and one of the games that will have some of that value in. 8:30 Eastern Standard Time game. Charlotte Hornets travel to San Antonio. They're taking on the Spurs in this one for the Hornets. Injury report wouldn't do any justice because it has LaMelo Ball listed as probable, but just about an hour before we started this show, we got the news that LaMelo is likely going to miss the remainder of the season with a fractured wrist. He's getting a second opinion. Most likely will need surgery. So that is part of the bad news. We touched on it early on, and the pea in the cereal at the end of a nice weekend. We see LeBron get hurt. Now unfortunately, LaMelo's down too. Two of the more exciting players to watch this season. So no LaMelo Ball. Terry Rozier is probable. Cody Zeller has been ruled out. For the Spurs, LaMarcus Aldridge and Keita Bates-Diop are ruled out. There is no game total. Spurs are being favored by 4 points at the moment. So I'll start off here, Brenton. We'll talk about this Hornets team. No LaMelo Ball. Obviously, we got to expect a big usage bump, a big minutes bump for a few of these guys in the backcourt. Obviously, Terry Rozier at 6,600, the more expensive guard. He's already kind of being a little bit, priced up, but this is underpriced for when LaMelo's off the floor. I'll definitely have some interest in Rozier. He's probable for this one. He's going to be playing more of the two now that Devontae Graham will likely shift back to the starting job at point guard. But both these guys are definitely getting a plus boost in this one. 4,800 for Graham puts him in as one of my favorite value plays on the slate. He feels like one of those almost can't miss. He's probably going to be back to his 15, 16 shot attempt self. Decent usage. Probably going to be touching on borderline double-digit assists once again. It's going to be a completely different, team, almost like how we were seeing it really early on in the season. So sign me up for both of these guys, and I wouldn't even mind having a few pivot shares in tournaments on Malik Monk at 4K. He's going to be leading that second unit now as the pretty much premier ball handler in the second unit as well. High shot attempts. I'd expect him to slide in there, between 10 and 12 shot attempts coming off the bench. So those three guys are piquing my interest the most.
I don't have anything else to add there either. It's, obviously with the LaMelo Ball news, it's very disappointing for him and the Hornets and us as NBA fans. I love watching this kid play, maybe when he's not playing against my team, but, you have to admire the skill and the aggressiveness that Ball's given us, and it's just a shame that he's gone now. So, Terry Rozier, 6,600. I would probably have a look at that, but I'm probably much more interested in Devontae Graham at a much cheaper salary. If I was looking for someone out of this Hornets backcourt at 4,800, I just think, as you said, he comes in and gets a huge elevation in assists and shot attempts. And as you touched on, the other nice basement price play that we now have to look at again is Malik Monk at 4K. Hayward, no. Washington, not really. I'm good with that. I think we can move on to the Spurs, mate.
Absolutely. We'll slide it over to the Spurs side of the ball, which we should be pretty comfortable with, outside of the fact that Kendall Johnson just out there just setting records the other night, against Cleveland. That 20-rebound game was just bonkers. But let's talk about that. DeMar DeRozan coming in at the top, 8,500, just a little too priced up for me. There's everything great that he's been doing all season. I'm not going to take that away. He's going to have high usage. He's going to be facilitating high double-digit assist games in 2 out of the last 4 games. 8,500, it just falls into that range where I talked about. If Shea's available, I prefer Shea. And even if Shea's not available, there's still a few more guys near that price tag, Zach LaVine, Donovan Mitchell. I prefer both them over DeMar DeRozan at a close salary. If I'm looking anywhere on this team, it's going to be at Jakob Poeltl. We've just seen time and time again centers come into here and just pretty much have their way. 6,100, nice fair cash price. Had a down rebound game in the last one, but before that, double-digit rebounds in the previous 3 games, touching on the 12, 16. So I don't mind some Jakob Poeltl, but that's probably it for me. I'm not going to go too crazy over here. Derek White is pretty much been a little bit underwhelming since his return. I'm expecting a big game to happen sooner rather than later. I just don't want to keep throwing money into the well waiting for it. I'll probably miss the boat on it and just have to take it off the chin.
Yeah, especially with DeRozan back from those personal reasons. It's taken all the shine off of Derek White, and he wasn't performing that great anyway. I think he had one big game in there that we could have taken advantage of, but Derek White, DeJounte Murray, they seem just priced appropriately now that DeMar is back, so I won't be touching either of those guys. As you said, DeRozan 8,500, that's starting to get a little high, and as you also said, we've got a ton of these guys in this kind of bracket in better places. I probably won't be playing much on the Spurs except for Jakob Poeltl, as you said. Charlotte front court, there is not much defense going on at that end of the court, and at 6,100, I think he can smash that salary here. Keldon Johnson, had that, he's the nice little fantasy darling for a couple of games with that monster outbreak game, but I would just rather play Jakob Poeltl as a safe play. Potentially, you could look at Johnson as some GPP pivots, but it's kind of meh, and I will just stick with Poeltl for the Spurs.
All righty. We will keep moving. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. Toronto Raptors traveling to Houston, trying to make it 21 in a row for the Rockets. Poor Stephen Silas, man. Seeing that press conference was just deflating. Needless to say, this guy, first head coaching job, and just can't catch a break. Just can't catch a break, and there's no other way to say it. Houston on the second half of a back-to-back in this one. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Raptors are as well. So no injury report for either team. We'll have to wait and see on that. But the Raptors pretty much getting back to full health now. Yep, that's right. They played Cleveland. Duh. So, yeah, Raptors pretty much back up to full health. Wouldn't expect this back-to-back to, impact anything. Kyle Lowry, trade deadline approaching, is a guy that we have to keep our eye on. Monitor up to news. I personally think he very well could be on the move. My best guess would be Philadelphia. We'll go back to his own hometown, but Villanova's product over there. So I got some interest in here, man. We have to. Houston, we know, has just been a bleeding sore at this point for teams having to walk in there. It's just, are they going to be able to hang in the game long enough? So Pascal Siakam at 7,500. No more PJ Tucker, so I do have some interest in attacking power forwards going into Houston. And at 7,500, he was a guy that I actually had tonight going against Cleveland. I believe he was 72 or 7,300, which just feels, like a fair price tag for him. Slightly under, but I'm still comfortable with paying it. We're going to have to see what's going on with the Houston backcourt before I can, make a complete determination on Lowry and Van Vliet. If I had to pick one of them, I'd probably pick the Lowry at the $500 salary more, 8,100. But I want to see what's going on with John Wall and Victor Oladipo. Both these guys played tonight, and it is the second half of a back-to-back. So we're going to have to wait and see whether or not one or both suit up. And if they do, they might be restricted as it is. Oladipo, another guy, pretty much writings on the wall here. And he said he's not going to reside. He's on his way out. If you're playing in any weekly fantasy leagues, he's a tough guy to deal with this week, knowing that there's a decent chance he could sit in this one and he may get traded in the middle of the week. But that's it for me. I'm going to be looking at Kyle Lowry to spend up on. Wouldn't mind going to Boucher at 6,100, but we already talked about some other guys. I prefer Poeltl over him, and I really can only trust Boucher if we're talking, GPPs at this point.
Yeah, that's it. It's all over the place for Boucher. It's 50 and then it's 25. So he's that pure GPP dart throw, hoping that he just has that upside game. He's probably playing the one position that we don't really want to target, the Rockets, with Christian Wood back in the side. So I will probably just pass there. Pascal Siakam, that looks pretty underpriced. I mean, around value, but we can target the Rockets for guys to have upside games for sure. And I don't mind paying $7,500 for Siakam. his price got as high as 8,200, and that wasn't that long ago. So 7,500, 7,300, that's more around the price tag I can pay Pascal. The front court, I'll swing the other way, man. I'll just go with Freddie at 7,600. That looks like a steal to me versus this Rockets front court. A little bit of that may depend on whether John Wall plays. Fairly solid defender. Actually, he'll be taking Lowry, so I'll take that back. It'll be whether Oladipo plays or not. But 7,600, I just like it. Anytime Van Vliet is under 8K, I will have a look at him. Maybe it stays close if those two guys for the Rockets come in. Maybe we get the value back for Siakam and Freddie.
All righty. We'll slide over to the other side of the ball, which, again, we have no idea what's going to happen. We got to know what's going on with John Wall, Oladipo. Obviously, if one or both these guys sits, that changes things drastically. If for Kevin Porter Jr., we really want John Wall to be sitting. We want him to handle that point guard role. That is his best position. 6,500, you're paying a premium for him, and that's kind of the circumstance where I would pay that. Is if John Wall's out, then I don't mind paying 6,500. If it's Oladipo out, John Wall plays, I'll probably leave Kevin Porter Jr. For somebody else to pay. Christian Wood at 8K, I believe he's kind of in that same boat with somebody who's with Halliburton. That minutes restriction is getting close to being lifted. Played 36 in the last one, so it feels like it's good to go. And if he's going to be playing 36-plus minutes at that price tag, I have a ton of interest in him. So definitely a guy that we could run back if you wanted to spend up and attack this game. Christian Wood, you could run it back with one of those two backcourt guards that we talked about in Lowry or Van Vliet. But I'm probably going to spread the love out. But I definitely see myself having some shares of Mr. Christian Wood. And we'll have to keep an eye on exactly, what's going on with DJ Augustine as well. I believe he missed Sunday's game due to an illness. And if once we hear that, Oladipo or Wall's ruled out and, if Augustine plays, he's a sneaky guy that could creep in and play 25 minutes and really present some decent value at 3,900. A lot of people are used to us just, immediately going to that. Kevin Porter Jr. or even Sterling Brown would get a lot of the handling responsibilities before Kevin Porter Jr. got into town. But I wouldn't be surprised. Augustine is a guy that right when they pretty much brought him into town, thrusted him right into like a 15 to 20 minute role. One or two of those guys sits. He's probably creeping up to 25. So that's pretty much what I'm looking at. And again, just really, really keep a close eye on the news. Hopefully we get it before lineups lock.
Man, not too much to add there, to be honest. But yeah, I love that DJ Augustin call. Yes, if we have either of the starting backcourt guys out, then someone's got to creep into more minutes as part of the secondary unit. And 3,900 for Augustin, it's not the sexiest player in the world, but he could easily beat that value if he gets 20 to 25. So nice call there, Mr. Apotria. I will just wait for the news on the backcourt. It's too hard to work out what we want to do with Oladipo, Wall, or Porter Jr. until we know what is happening. And then it's Christian Wood. Like the minutes limit seems to be lifted. In the game where he played 36 minutes, he put up 46.5 DK points. We all know what a point per monster beast he is. If we can keep this close, which is debatable, 8,100 for Christian Wood. That's which one is it? 8,100? It's 8K. Sorry, 8K for Christian Wood is a fair price tag. He can beat that anytime he's on the court.
All right, we're gonna keep it moving. We got 4 games left, so we're just about halfway through right now. So good time to take a quick little breather, quick little pause. I'll let Brenton grab a sip of that water over there, or coffee. Might be the morning for you. I think it's morning over where you are, right, Brenton? It's about 9:30, 10 o'clock where you are, something like that. 11:30.
Bit later than that. It's just gone 12:30 in the afternoon here.
Okay, so that's still coffee time where I am. So
absolutely,
no worries. But guys, stop what you're doing. Go check out Manscaped if you haven't already. Check them out. Get some swag. Get some goodies. Everything you need for your personal male hygiene and grooming. They have everything from the Lawnmower 3.0, waterproof, quick charging trimmer, and guess what? No nicks, no cuts. The most important thing when you're grooming your male needs. So check them out, guys. They have more than that. They have the Perfect Package 3.0 kit. And let me just tell you all about that. It has everything, like I just mentioned, that Lawnmower 3.0, that fantastic. That's the big kit and caboodle. That is worth it itself. But they also throw in some swag with the T-shirt, the travel kit, the boxers. You get the toner, the aftershave, the body wash, just a little bit of everything. I just mentioned I traveled. I stayed over at a hotel at a casino. And let me just shout out to that hotel. Absolute fantastic treatment there. Never seen a cleaner hotel, especially during these times. I felt like every other hour there was someone walking around through the hallways. You could hear it, sanitizing doorknobs, you name it. Absolutely fantastic service. But I brought my kit, and I couldn't be more happy because no one ever loves those hotel shampoos. They're the last things you ever want to use. Those are the last things that I ever want to use. So I had everything I needed in my perfect package kit. And let me just tell you, I used that promo code HoopBall20. And I got it for 20% off plus free shipping. You could too. Head over to Manscaped, guys. Use that promo code HoopBall20. So we'll keep it moving. About halfway through, Indiana Pacers traveling to Milwaukee. They're taking on the Bucks at this one. We don't have an injury report for the Pacers second half of back-to-back, but for the Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo dealing with the wrist. Actually, I'm sorry, left knee sprain. I thought it was his wrist, but left knee sprain. He is doubtful, as well as Brodion Kuric's health and safety protocols for him. There is a 231.5 game total. Milwaukee's being favored by 10 points right now, despite Giannis being doubtful in this one. We'll start off with the Pacers here, Brett, and I'll pass it over to you.
Spring into Lowe's and plant the seeds of possibility. With premium mulch for just $3.68 a bag and Stay Green 1 cubic foot garden soil just $4.28 a bag, you'll grow possibilities right from the ground, like skipping the grocery store because your yard grew the whole salad. And it grew you tulips, too. Oh, yard, you shouldn't have. Visit your local Lowe's or shop online at Lowe's.com. Lowe's, home to any budget, home to any possibility. While supplies last, mulch offer in-store only. Selection and offer availability varies by location. Offers valid through 3/10, U.S. only. Excludes Hawaii.
Yeah, I think my interest with the Pacers versus the stifling Bucks defense, I think it probably just starts and stops with Domantas Sabonis, and I'm not overly interested in him when I can look at Karl Anthony Towns at $500 more. So, I mean, Sabonis has been a monster all year. I just worry about this matchup. This may come down to the Giannis news. If Giannis can't go, then I don't know where the rim protection is for the Bucks. So I may look at Sabonis in case of that news coming through. He can easily clear 55 DK points any given night. It's just also we have the bonus of the dual eligibility in power forward and center. So look, that may just swing back and forth depending whether Giannis plays. Outside of that, man, I didn't have a lot of interest in this Pacers team, and I was struggling to find anything on the Bucks side of the ball. What about you for the Pacers, though?
On the Pacers, I'm right there with you. I think Domantas Sabonis is top-tier option, 9K. You touched on it, no rim protection. This is a fantastic matchup for him. So a little underpriced, too, and I think it's just based upon the matchup and what he was in there anticipating him going up against, which was Giannis. So definitely a guy that we could look at. We talked about some high-priced guys already. Where does he kind of fall in that 9K range? Definitely prefer him over Fox. When it comes to Cat, it gets a little bit closer. Cat being $500 more, that gets a little dicey. I really do like both those guys. But I definitely have him over, DeMar DeRozan, over Lavid, who we'll get to, over some of these other high-priced guys that in the next game as well. He is one of my top-tier, high-priced forwards to look at. Outside of him, though, you're right. Not a lot of options. We talk about it all the time. The way to beat the Bucks is from behind the three-point line. So if you want to take some stags, Dougie buckets, 4,500, wouldn't fault you there. But it's pretty much just a GPP dart throw. On the Bucks side of the ball, I definitely have some interest if Giannis is going to be doubtful. Chris Middleton, 7,600. Sure, why not? Anytime we know that Giannis is out, his usage pretty much skyrockets. He takes on a lot more of a facilitation role. The assists have been down over the past 3 games. He only has a total of 8 assists over the past 3 games. I would anticipate he's probably closer to 8 assists in this one game if Giannis sits. Yes, I know Drew Holiday plays point. That doesn't mean that they don't like to bring the ball up with Middleton. And pretty much Giannis has a big part in that while he's playing. So I would expect his numbers to jump. Wouldn't mind staring at Holiday either at 68. Just prefer Middleton slightly more, but both those guys very much in play. Dante DiVincenzo would definitely get a boost as well. Just don't want to go there at that price tag. 61 just feels a little bit too expensive for me. And we'll have to see what goes on with the starting lineup in Giannis' spot because, they did just trade for PJ Tucker. He's pretty new to the team. Do they just throw him right into the starting role? If they do, I love Middleton and Holiday even more because we know PJ Tucker has pretty much the same usage rate as me. sitting on my couch. He's just not gonna, he's not going to do much. He's going to stand in the corner, especially when you're new to the team. You got to get acclimated. You kind of got to find your role and exactly where you're comfortable. So I wouldn't expect much from PJ Tucker if he is in the starting lineup. Now, if Bobby Portis is inserted in the starting lineup, that's a different story. Bobby Portis is a high usage guy. He's been known as, I think we talked about this last time. You said it, which is a black hole. I think that was the term that you taught me.
He's one of those black holes, absolutely.
Yeah. So he's not shy. I would expect double-digit shot attempts from him regardless, but that's kind of where I'm looking. Middleton, Holiday, and then whoever's starting at that 5 or at that 4, whether it's Portis. Well, it'd have to be Portis because I'm not playing PJ Tucker.
Oh, you're not playing Tucker. Tucker's not coming in, starting and shooting 16 or 17 field goal attempts. You don't think?
Well, he will now that I bad belted him enough. Yeah, he probably will. I'm asking for it.
Man, this Bucks lineup, the Giannis news is it for me. I mean, if Giannis plays, I don't really have any interest in any of these guys. I don't have any interest in Giannis. Everything falls away for usage for Middleton and Holiday and all these guys, and that's where I'm drawing the line here. If Giannis is in, pass. If Giannis is out, then it's going to be Chris Middleton soaking up a stack of usage at 7,600. I like that price tag for him if the Greek Freak doesn't play. Bobby Portis is the other guy. As you said, I'm not playing Tucker even if he starts. Bobby Portis, though, at 4,100, I love that price if Giannis is out. Other than that, I think, that's probably it, man. I'm not chasing Dante DiVincenzo's last couple of games. We can move on.
All right, next game, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. Boston Celtics traveling to Memphis to take on the Grizzlies. No injury report for the Celtics. They are on the second half of a back-to-back, but we've already been given the news that Kemba Walker will be resting. So he's going to be sitting out of this one. Jaren Jackson Jr., the only name on Memphis's report. He is out, or as Fantino would like to say, right around the corner. He's really holding out for him for his fan. It's our fantasy league. Brenton's in it. A lot of our DFS guys over here in it, along with some of our hometown friends. And poor Santino. You're maybe not anymore. Well, you losing to? They lose it today. Yeah. Well, Brett was in it for a little while. He was in it. I vaguely remember somebody, sending you a trade package involving Bradley Beal for Joel Embiid. Maybe it was the night before Embiid got hurt. Maybe could have altered. Hey, I don't know. Who knows? That's
that did happen, and I turned it down, and Embiid did the knee the next day, and I messaged Mike back and said I'll take that trade now, but there was no response.
Yeah, that's sorry. Offers off the table. We'll talk about this one. Do we have a game total? Do we have it? No, we don't. Obviously, Boston's on the second half of back-to-back, so we do have a spread. Memphis is actually being favored by 1. That feels weird. That doesn't feel right, but it feels weird. I guess Boston has been playing some pretty rough basketball as of late. We'll start with the Celtics team, Brett. I'll pass it over to you. No Kemba Walker. Where are you looking?
Yeah, so no Kemba Walker is the key, and that brings a couple of guys straight into play. Jaylen Brown at 7,900 comes in at $700 more than Jason Tatum. It's actually Brown who's outperforming Tatum recently, so I will look at that price salary saving of $700, and the other bonus is that we can absolutely attack the Grizzlies with wings players. The Grizzlies have been giving up fantasy points at the wing positions all year long, and Brown is on an absolute burner right now, so I will trust him at 7,900 more than I'll trust Tatum. It's always a bit of a swings and roundabouts between those two, and Tatum will probably come out firing, but I just like the salary saving at 7,900 for Brown, especially with Kemba Walker out. And the other guy with Kemba Walker out is Marcus Smart. So 5,600, that's a price increase. But I still absolutely love a guy at that price in this matchup. I think whether he starts at the 1 or the 2, this shouldn't really matter. This salary versus the Grizzlies, whether it's Ja Morant or one of the rotating blender guard options that they play around Ja Morant. I think that 5,600 is a pretty safe price for Marcus Smart. We could see an upside night here. And his last 3 DK returns have been 28.75, 26, and 29.75 from a guy on the way back from injury. So when Walker sits, I love Marcus Smart. And outside of that, I am probably passing on most of these dudes.
I love Marcus Smart. I can't say it enough. I think everybody else will too. We'll probably be fairly chalky. You touched on it though. No Kemba Walker. We could pretty much expect a nice bump in usage, double-digit shot attempts from a guy like Smart, a couple more assists. I mean, I don't think the price increase is there. It's obvious he went up $300, but not nearly where it should be. I mean, this is a guy we're talking pre-injury back in January was well over 6K. He was floating around 63, 64. I think at one point he was touched on 6,800. So this is still pretty cheap for Marcus Smart if he's going to be playing 30-plus minutes, and we can pretty much lock that in, especially with no Kemba. Great point-per-minute guy. I believe he put up about 32 DK points in 26 minutes when these two teams faced off earlier in the season. So, 30-plus has me thinking we're going to see guaranteed 30-plus. I don't mind looking at Jaylen Brown. He's the guy. I prefer him over Tatum. It's just it's tough when you're coming off a couple big games, a couple string of big games, still a little underpriced for even how well he's been playing. Also getting the increased usage with no Kemba Walker. I expect a lot of people to kind of flock to him at 7,900. So, I may pivot off of him just simply based on an ownership. I still love the play himself. He absolutely torched this team not too long ago or earlier in the season in 28 minutes, dropped a whopping almost 60 DK points, put up 42 actual points. I don't know if you guys remember that game. He absolutely torched him. So it's very well in the cards that he could do that again. So I'll keep him in my player pool. Just I want to see how this whole thing shakes out as lineups are starting to lock where I'm at on my ownership with him though. And then I don't mind looking at Tice. 4,800. We know that Memphis could they could play big if they want with Clark and with Jonas. Nonetheless, Tristan Thompson's still likely probably to be ruled out. He missed today's game due to the health and safety protocols. He might miss. I would assume he's probably going to miss Monday's game as well. And Tice has been playing, at least 25 to 26 minutes, some games upwards to 30. And just looking at his game logs, past 4 games, he's got about an average of 30 DK points. So I'll take that. 4,800. That's rock solid value. 2 of those games doubled and put up over 35 DK points, 36 and almost 40, 39.75. So Tice, Smart, Brown, those are the 3 guys for me that I have interest in. Sliding over to the Memphis side of the ball, Brent, and I'll pass it over to you. Who are you looking at?
Not much, man, I have to say. Versus Boston, pretty tough defense. I will pass on Ja Morant at 7,300. That's not a bad price for Morant, but he just haven't been giving us much in the way of upside, and he's likely to just see Marcus Smart defense here, and that puts a dampener on any point guard trying to score fantasy points for us. So I'll just pass there. I think I'll just keep this short. I'll just stick with Valanciunas, and that's kind of only a bit of a middling, boring type of play. It's not a fantastic price for Valanciunas. We've seen him up over 8K, but we are talking about the Boston front court here. So anything can happen there with J-Val. He's topped 40 DK points, and beyond that, I think he got closer to 50 in 3 of his last 5 games. He's just worth some shares here. And outside of that, I'm not messing with the secondary guard and wing rotation blender on the Grizzlies side of the ball. The only, I wouldn't even take punts at Kyle Anderson here. I think it's J-Val for a kind of half interesting play, and that's about it. What about yourself?
I don't mind J-Val. I always talk about if I'm attacking the Celtics, I want to do it in the front court. And, it's just J-Val's minutes have been somewhat limited over the past few games. I really want to get those 30-plus minute games out of him so I can really capitalize on his upside and hopefully get that 50-plus point upside in there. And he's just too close to guys like Christian Wood, who I prefer over him. So I don't see myself landing on J-Val. I am willing to take a couple stabs at some of these guys in that guard rotation. One guy being Grayson Allen. I touched on him, I believe, the last show where they played. He was one of my favorite value plays that slate, and he did not disappoint. Came out, played 32 minutes, only shot 2 of 9 from the field, but put up 27 DK points. So if he's going to be playing 30-plus minutes, which he shouldn't, it should be Melton. I think we all know that. Melton did get into foul trouble pretty early. I believe he picked up 3 fouls in his first 4 or 5 minutes or something wild. So 32 minutes might be out of the realm. It might be more of 26 or 25, but nonetheless, he's probably going to see the lion's share of the minutes for these guards. So 4,100, he's a guy I'll keep in my player pool. We've touched on a lot of guard value. That's very, very good so far, but he's there for now. We'll see if he ends up making it when the lineups crank themselves out, but we'll keep it moving. 2 games left, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. Utah Jazz traveling to Chicago to take on the Bulls in this one. No injury report for the Bulls. And for the Jazz, Rudy Gobert is questionable. We have a 231 game total, 9.5-point spread, Jazz being favored. I don't believe I actually gave I did. I gave the Indiana game total. But I'll pass it over to you, Brent. Let's talk about this Jazz team.
Yeah, cool. So facing the Bulls, I mean, we know what the defensive stocks are there are like there. They're not fantastic, and I think we just aim pretty much squarely at the top and the tail of this Utah Jazz lineup. We can look at Donovan Mitchell, 8,700. I mean, there's some other plays around him, no doubt. We have Paul George coming up a bit cheaper, and we've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander if he plays, as you've already mentioned. So look, it's a tough one to get Mitchell in at 8,700, but it is maybe just a GPP pivot off some of the other guys that we've mentioned. I don't know. It's a high price tag. He's been putting up a lot of field goal attempts in the last couple of games. So that's the one thing I do like for Mitchell there. And Gobert is the only other guy I would look at. It's the dream matchup against the Bulls. Front court, Lauri Markkanen trying to play center. That dude is not a center. He's not a rebounder, and he's not much of a defender either. Where is Gobert priced here, Mike? I haven't made a note of that.
8,400.
Well, that's pretty high for Rudy Gobert. So maybe I'm just passing on him as well. I mean, he would have to take a crap load of rebounds to probably push into beating value at 8,400. So, look, I just think maybe most of these guys are appropriately priced, even against the Bulls, and there's not a lot of love here from me.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if Rudy Gobert sits, he is questionable right now. I believe he was questionable coming into the last game, ended up playing. So, a decent chance I'll end up playing in this one. But if he sits, we could start looking at some other guys. Derek Favors at 3,500 would be a great value play. Probably draw the start at center. Somebody that would probably be some pretty quick chalk, like you said. Any center walking into Chicago pretty much has a positive matchup at this point in time. I believe Markkanen himself got into foul trouble fairly early tonight. I think he picked up 2 or 3 fouls within the first 3 minutes. Just could not stop Jeremy Grant during the day. He was just absolutely cooking him in the beginning of the game. But it's tough. Mitchell priced up. I love the matchup. I think he can absolutely hit that price tag and pay that salary off at 8,700. Just a few other guys I prefer. If I'm spending anywhere, it'd probably be at these 2 guards positions between Mike Conley and Jordan Clarkson. I like both these guys. I like this matchup for both of them. Jordan Clarkson should be able to just attack Kobe White on that second unit, absolutely torch him. And then Conley at 64. He just presents that solid floor, and we know the upside's there given the matchup. And when Conley's hot, he's hot. One of the best 3-point shooters. So don't mind looking at those 2 guys, and I'll probably draw the line there. Gobert, you're right. He'll probably smash. He could easily hit 50. But if this team's at full health, I have a little less interest that they just don't wipe the floor at Chicago and, get out of there pretty quickly. On the Chicago side of things, Zach Lavid coming in at 8,400, not touching him. Already touched on it. A lot of other guys I prefer over him. And to be honest, I don't have an interest in any single one of these guys. I think that they are all priced pretty appropriately. Markkanen's getting a little fair. If Gobert's out, then yeah, maybe I can look at Markkanen. I think I'm a little less afraid of that Utah front court. But if Gobert plays, I'm probably just going to stay away from this team as a whole. Believe Wendell Carter Jr. was poked in the eye during today's game. Something to keep an eye on. If there's a chance that he does sit out. We'll probably see, Gafford slide in, play some backup center minutes, and they'll continue to roll with their pretty lackluster front court that they have. But what are you looking at on the Bulls?
I am not. I'm with you. I think the only 2 guys I would even have slight interest in, and it's very thin slices of interest, is Tad Young. He's going to probably have to be out there just for his size against Gobert, but it's a pretty unenticing price tag at 6,500. I just don't like anything on the Bulls. Levine's too high at 8,400. Sorry, not too high for Levine, but versus the Jazz, and we have better options on the board. So, yeah, I'm not messing with Otto Porter Jr. or Satoransky or Markkanen. I just, if someone out there can tell me which one of those guys to pick on any given night, please let me know via Twitter, and we can have a coffee or a beer or something, because I can't work out who's going to go off between those 3. So that's it, man. Pass on the Bulls.
I wouldn't mind taking a stab at Satoransky just because we know he's starting. He's still pretty cheap at 4,400. It's not the best matchup. Mike Conley is a pretty good defender. The Jazz are going to slow this down. There's a lot of things out, but the price tag is still very, very, very fair for what he's been doing. But again, tons of guard value on this slate. Gotta make some decisions. Final game of the night. Atlanta Hawks traveling to LA, take on the Clippers in this one. For the Hawks, Chris Dunn, Cam Reddish ruled out. DeAndre Hunter is questionable. Trae Young probable. For the Clippers, Patrick Beverley and Serge Ibaka both ruled out. So we'll start with the Hawks team. I'll pass it to you, Brian. I'll let you start with the Hawks. I'll take the Clippers.
All right, man. Look, Clippers, not fun to play against for any team as far as fantasy points go, but they have two positions where you can attack them, and it's that top and tail again. So it's Trae Young. 8,800 is, anytime you see Trae under 9K, you think, ooh, nice. I am a little concerned that we may just have better options on the board, but I couldn't fault you if you played him. He's probably one of the, if he does play at 8,800, the Clippers can be attacked at point guard. I don't mind that play. And the other guy for me is probably Clint Capella. I know people are probably all over John Collins right now. He's finally gotten on his bike and started pulling out some scores for us. I will just play safe and go to the spot where I feel more comfortable attacking the Clips, and that is at center. So Clint Capella, 7,300. I think there's rebounds for days here for Clint if he plays. He's not on the injury report, is he, Mike?
I do not believe so. Not now, but I think he did make his return last game, and he was somewhat limited. He played, I believe, 22 minutes. So we'll have to keep an eye on it if the minutes get increased, and I'm sure they will. I think the days of Capella playing 35 minutes are gone. I think that they're going to kind of treat him with kid gloves in the second half of the season a little bit more. Just at the end of the day, they're shopping John Collins. That's the guy that they're shopping. They want to make sure that they still have their center as long as possible. So I do have interest in both these front court guys, though. Like you said, if we're attacking, usually this Clippers, there's two spots. We're avoiding the wings, and it's a good thing because with Atlanta, we've been avoiding the wings anyway. So just boom, decision made, nice and easy. But both those front court guys definitely have some interest from me. Sorry, I kind of cut you off. Who else are you looking at?
Oh, man, that was almost it. I mean, I think, we've got to find value somewhere. And I think the consistency of Kevin Hurder lately has been pretty good. So what is he listed at? I had him up here. Now I've lost him.
Kevin Hurder, he is 5K.
So 5K for a guy who's been putting up anywhere between, high 20s to 35 DK points a night. It's not the sexiest play in the world, but, it's not an upside play, I guess. He's probably just got a really nice, consistent floor. So he's one of these guys where if you happen to fall there, you could fall there. But as you said, wings against the Clippers, not overly exciting. He should still get some shots up, though. So he would be a GPP. A last-minute bang-in cash play if you fall at that salary, and that's about it.
Yeah, I don't mind him. I think I would go to Bogdanovich. He's 1,100. He's 3,900. They're, creeped up in that 29. They're almost playing pretty consistent roles, both of them. I don't love either one of them. So if I had to just go with one of them, I'd probably just go with the guy who I have less, excitement about. 3,900. I don't need as much. I don't need to worry as much. But who knows if I go to either one of them. You ready to slide over to the Clippers?
Let's do it.
All right. Paul George, 8,200. Kawhi Leonard, 8,900. It's Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. You're obviously always going to have interest in both these guys. We fall into that 9K range where we've touched on probably about 4 or 5 guys who are all rock solid plays. Now, where does he fall? Prefer Sabonis over him. So he's definitely going to be a premier value or a premier play. But I think I'd still end up with Cat and Sabonis over Kawhi Leonard. Paul George at 8,200, slightly cheaper. $700 discount compared to him. So I would play George over Kawhi Leonard. I think both these guys are still fantastic plays, but I just prefer the discount. Outside of those two guys, I'll go to the front court. I've been playing Zubats. I apologize. As often as possible with Serge Ibaka out. He's just been really solid cash consistency. There's some games where we could see in this one where they do play a little bit bigger. If the game stays close, he could play 30-plus minutes. He played 35 minutes back-to-back games. Last game, he played 25, but that was also almost a 30-point blowout. So if we're just getting a $5,100 price tag on a center that's going to play 35-plus minutes against a Hawks team, sign me up. I'm good with that, and I don't mind looking at Marcus Morris Sr. either, who should continue to start and play 30 minutes as long as this game stays intact. So both those two guys, I think, are going to be my two favorite options. and then I'll slide in some Paul George here and there.
Boom. That is, you might as well have read straight off my page, Mr. Apotria. That's it for me. It's Zubac. Especially if Ibaka sits at 5,100, that is going to be smash territory, I would imagine. Marcus Morris is just a little bit of value we might be able to find on the Clippers squad at 5K, especially if this is a blowout. And then, the usual conversation that we have with the Clippers is Paul George and Kawhi. And again, I'm with you. I'm taking Paul George at $8,200, $700 cheaper than Mr. Claw. And that is it, man. I'm not very excited about much on that Clippers squad unless Ibaka sits, and then I'll be very excited about Ivica.
All right. That brings us to a close. That is the slate. And now, some player tiers, some good action. So, I am a gentleman, Brent, so I'll let you lead off. Give us your high-priced stud.
I was totally expecting I am a gentleman, Brenton, so I will go first. But that's cool, man. You want to throw it to me? That's fine.
Well, I can go first, but then I get first crack. And what if I take the same guy?
Go. You go first.
All right.
If you think that gives you the advantage, then you go.
Oh, so that's okay. We'll play it like that. Okay. I like the double angle right there, a little reversal. Actually, I kind of wanted you to go first because I'm pretty stuck on the two guys I've mentioned probably throughout this slate. But I'll lean on Domantas Sabonis at 9K. I really like him in this matchup without Giannis. Very fair price tag for a guy who just churns out 40 and 45-point games, what feels like on the regular. And we've seen that 50 to 60-point upside. Easily could triple-double in this one if it stays close. So I definitely have some interest in Sabonis at 9K.
I'm going to take Karl Anthony Towns at 9.5. I like that matchup against the Thunder. We've seen some big rebounding returns for opposing centers, and I think that Cat has a field day against the Thunder here.
Yep, and I don't fault you for that. That was the other guy I was tossing and turning between a little bit. I definitely want. I'm going to have plenty of both these guys in the same lineup. I think Cat is in a fantastic spot. So we'll go to the mid tier. The one that we always kind of switch up. I think last time we did $7,500 or less, so we could stick with that. Between that $5K and $7,500 mark, which takes out takes out Middleton, the guy I was just going to immediately go to at $7,600. So we'll slide down a little bit now as I stall, as I give it a hard stall, and I'll go to these guards I was looking at in that like 55, 5,600 range. Halliburton at 55 is somebody that I definitely am going to have a fair amount of interest in. There's a few of these guards, though. Maybe Marcus Smart. Those are the two guys. So I know you're going to say Smart, so I'll say Halliburton.
Yeah, I was looking at Smart. I might go, if we go in 7,500 and below, I may just go up a little further and go back to Anthony Edwards. If I could find his pricing, 7,200. I like that price for a guy versus the Thunder who are pretty beat up themselves.
All right. Well, then I guess I'll just take Smart then. I was trying to think of it. I tried to be the nice guy and leave you Smart. I thought you were hitting that one. But Edwards also a fantastic play. You look at you, back-to-back Timberwolves. I wonder which game you're attacking. Hint, hint. But all right, we'll go to the value play. Under 5K. I'll take the easy cop-out since you decided to let me go first, and I'll just go with Devontae Graham at 4,800. He'll be probably one of the premier chalk plays. Hard to imagine that he is not, but totally get it. So 4,800, I'll pick Graham.
Dang it. Now you got me scrambling. Malik Monk, 4K is not a bad option on the same team. Let me just scroll through and see if I can find better.
Listen, I'll stall for you. I got you. Take a couple minutes. Shout out to, if you guys haven't already checked out the Fantasy Pass, head over to hoop-ball.com. Get your access with the Fantasy Pass. It's only $4.99 per month. Gives you access to everything that you need behind the scenes, behind the paywall, access to the Discord. And if you go to Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to this podcast, give us a thumbs up, 5-star, rate and review. Screenshot it. Tag someone on the Hoopball DFS team or even Dan Bespris on Twitter. And you'll be entered into a live drawing, free drawing we'll be holding over the next few weeks where you get a free Fantasy Pass. So, maybe you want to find out what it's like and you want to get it for free. That's your way. You don't even need to pay the $4.99, even though, hey, I think it's worth it. But check it out, guys. Get that screenshot. Send it to one of us. We'll enter you. All right, Brent. I did my best, buddy. I tried to stall for you. I tried to buy you a couple minutes, but Who do we got for your value play?
Oh, man, you built it up so much that I'm just going to let everybody down and stay with Malik Monk.
All right. There it is. I feel let down after that one, man.
Maybe some Saturansky. Maybe some Saturansky at 4,400 to steal your thunder, but yeah, you took the guy.
Nah, that's okay, man. And listen, it's not like we don't have value that just crops up right when slate's about to lock and just alters everybody tonight. We'll probably end up seeing some late scratches and some other news pop up, and we'll have some value. But that's all I have for you guys. That's all Breton has for you guys, I'm sure. I don't know, Brent. Do you have anything else?
Nothing else, man, except just go out there, have some fun, limit your player pool, and listen to us every day, and hopefully we'll get you over the line a few times.
Ooh, that's the goal. And follow us on Twitter at Mikeapotria, MikeApotria. You can find Breton at Terrain72, TERRAIN72. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back tomorrow. It'll be, I think it's Santino. God, man, I got to get this schedule down. We are awful.
I think it is Santino.
It's Santino. I know it's Santino. I believe he's with Will because I love listening to their Monday shows, if I'm not mistaken. I think that we might have been switching that day around, and that's where I'm causing the confusion in my own head. But I believe we're going to go with Santino and Will. They'll be back. They'll be crushing that slate for you guys. Tune in. Take care. Let's go out there and take down some tournaments.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.
The Falcon and the Winter Soldier has arrived on Disney+.
The world is upside down. We can't lose this fight, Bucky. If we do this, we're going to do it our own way.
Experience the 6-episode event.
Work partners, co-workers. Not necessarily the team. No. We look damn good.
Marvel Studios' The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, now streaming only on Disney+.
Spring into Lowe's and plant the seeds of possibility. With premium mulch for just $3.68 a bag and Stay Green 1 cubic foot garden soil just $4.28 a bag, you'll grow possibilities right from the ground, like skipping the grocery store because your yard grew the whole salad. And it grew you tulips, too. Oh, yard, you shouldn't have. Visit your local Lowe's or shop online at Lowe's.com. Lowe's, home to any budget, home to any possibility. While supplies last, mulch offer in-store only. Selection and offer availability varies by location. Offers valid through 3/10, U.S. only. Excludes Hawaii.